When I was around 16, I had this epiphany that MythBusters was one of my favorite shows on TV.
One!
It's like Top Gear meets Bill Nye the Science Guy with just a sprinkle of jackass, and there hasn't been anything like it since. Using the steps of the scientific method as a mode of storytelling, a group of special effects artists use their creative engineering skills to create elaborate experiments meant to test the truth behind urban legends, common beliefs, and online arguments. Like, can you hit somebody with so much force you literally knock their socks off?
Using a 500-pound explosion.
At first they said no, myth busted, but a season later they retested it and myth confirmed because they did it. Testing these myths in spectacular ways, the show has a whole canon of stories, and probably because of its inclination to blow things up, MythBusters was easily the most popular educational TV show airing when I was growing up. Yet the dramatic tension of each episode's story doesn't come from the educational material. It doesn't matter if the myth is confirmed or busted, because the drama comes from the creativity of designing and building their complicated experiments, which are wild engineering feats. And not to mention the legendarily sassy rapport between the two lead hosts, Jamie and Adam.
Just waste time because you're cheap. That's fine. Actually,
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you about your opinion.
You talk until I can't stand to hear you talk anymore, and then we go with your idea.
Yeah, you baby. You're gonna ruin it, aren't you?
Why don't you ever pretend to be like Adam?
What do you mean, stupid?
These guys are one of the best duos in reality TV.
Yeah, this is Billiam. Don't try this at home.
I saw the MythBusters live when I was 18 years old. It was the same night as my then girlfriend's prom, and I tried to convince her to skip prom and go with me, but that was never gonna happen, myth busted. So we drove an hour to go see them in the next town over. I purchased an autograph. Can you find Jamie and Adam in the audience? Anyways, there I am. MythBusters is one of the few shows I watched as a kid that I can still say is one of my favorites. It holds up, and I love watching the antics of Jamie, Adam, and the build team, Tori, Grant, and Carrie. There's a magic to MythBusters. So let's look at the most creative educational TV show to have ever been put on the air. We've got some big plans for this channel, so we've been trying to cut back on personal expenses to make some upcoming projects really special. Thank goodness today's sponsor, Rocket Money, is here to help. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. Using Rocket Money to set budgets is so intuitive. It automatically categorizes spending, and it can even send you notifications about exceeding spending limits. It does the math for you. It keeps track for you. It turns out I can't get orange chicken delivered to my apartment every single day if I want to save money or live for very long. Subscription charges can sneak right onto your credit card bills from right under your nose. But with Rocket Money, you can identify unwanted reoccurring charges and even cancel them right within the Rocket Money app. No more awkward calls or painful customer service emails. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when they use all the features, with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/Billiam or click the link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock more features with premium. But that's rocketmoney.com/Billiam to get started for free. Thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it.
What is the destructive force of a chicken at 300 miles an hour? Find out what's really fact and what's really not. MythBusters, Sunday at 8.
First airing in 2003, MythBusters ran for 14 seasons with nearly 300 episodes, starring its original two hosts, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman, who could not be more different.
I want to put him in a box or something because he just breaks everything. That way, yeah.
It's like Bert and Ernie, or John Lennon and Paul McCartney, or Marlon and Dory. The show is filmed in Jamie's shop, M5 Industries in San Francisco. Jamie has more of a serious attitude with a very sharp, dry wit.
We should get out of here. That's mercury vapor there.
Adam, on the other hand, has a natural inclination to be a showman. He juggles, rides his Segway around, and loves doing the show in costume.
Could you wrap me up a little more? I don't feel quite safe yet.
What are you, a turkey?
While the show had a great energy right from the start, I think the first truly great story tackled on MythBusters is Alcatraz Prison Escape. The story goes 3 prisoners were able to escape from Alcatraz Island right off the coast of San Francisco using a raft constructed from prisoner-issued raincoats. On location, Jamie and Adam explore Alcatraz, going through service corridors behind cells and noticing that the acoustics in the place make it hard to do anything secret.
Wait, was that a guard? No.
To find out what they'll be up against, Jamie and Adam go to this crazy facility. It's a 2-acre model of San Francisco Bay which recreates the tidal cycles and currents. It's a really incredible piece of equipment, and through using it, they determined the current would bring them from the island to the shore just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. After securing accurate raincoat material, Jamie and Adam construct a raft under the ideal circumstances in their shop. I love how they argue about how big the overlap should be between each piece of rubber. 2 inches or 2.5 inches? You feel like they'd be arguing over a life and death situation.
Because it just is, it's like, it's not really gonna help us any. And,
Yes, it is.
I don't know.
It's insurance. I have to insist on this one. It's absolute insurance.
Make it 2 inches. That's like double what you need.
All right.
Hey.
Adam.
To test their raft in the middle of the night, Jamie and Adam launched their inflated raincoats off of Alcatraz Island. After 40 minutes of taking this thing through San Francisco Bay, the rough waters of the bay, Jamie and Adam make landfall just north of the Golden Gate Bridge as they predicted. Nonetheless, their experiment makes the story just a little bit more plausible, adding magic to the myth itself rather than just debunking it. Even though expert opinion thinks all these guys f***ing died. There's some discourse about how Jamie and Adam were not friends outside of the show, and I think that quickly devolves into an idea that they hated each other.
Totally me. We finally get a reasonable experiment here, and he's like, oh, well, that's great.
5 years before the show, Jamie was Adam's boss, and their professional relationship had already been established. In the mid-90s, Adam was on Jamie's Robot Wars crew. Their robot Blendo was deemed too hazardous and was granted the title of co-champion in exchange for withdrawing from the tournament. They were born to be Mythbusters before they even knew it. Jamie reached out to Adam years later because he really thought he had a good personality for television. And after the show ended, Jamie has always expressed respect for Adam's work. Adam included Jamie in the acknowledgments of his book and described him both as a good boss and as a mentor. They may have not hung out outside of work, but the truth is the show would not work if there wasn't real camaraderie between them. And the fact that they're rough around the edges with each other just makes it all better. And some of the behind the scenes stuff is so funny because Jamie knows people just try to like get good TV out of him.
Just trying to give me a hard time to see if you can get some good irritated TV out of this deal.
I believe we just did.
It's their shared love of crafting, science, and special effects work that holds them together. And their rapport is one of the most underappreciated aspects of reality TV. I'd be mistaken not to mention Buster, the crash test dummy. He's the mascot of the show that so often becomes the victim of their mythic mayhem. He's broken down and rebuilt, and they even bring Buster's family into the show.
Your dad Buster's done it millions of times.
If Buster could talk, he'd say, "Please, I'll give you whatever you want, just leave him out of this." Also joining from the very first episode is the narrator, Robert Lee, who I think glues the entire show together with a non-stop delivery of puns and sly insults.
A duck ambush. It's risky, because if this doesn't work, Jamie and Adam will look really stupid. The pig is finally balanced to within an oink of falling off. He used to be a SWAT sniper team leader, which means the pig jokes stop now. Maybe this will get the bacon bouncing.
He said he would stop, but then he kept going.
Oh, crap. This was a bad idea.
Oh!
Bad idea.
The show took a seismic leap in quality with the introduction of a second build team.
We have liftoff.
The core of which included Carrie Byron, a former intern and employee of Jamie's shop, who is our final cast member here who has been with the show since the very beginning. Tori Belleci had previously worked with Adam at George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic. Tori brings a great slapstick energy to the show and was rightfully deemed to be an honorary member of the Jackass crew and Jackass Forever. It just feels right. finally, cracked roboticist Grant Imahara, who had previously worked with Adam and Tori at Industrial Light and Magic.
My name is Grant Imahara. What's my name?
I do feel it necessary to mention that in the middle of 2020, Grant Imahara tragically died at the age of 49. I am hard-pressed to find a celebrity death I felt more impacted by, and I'm sure if many of you grew up watching MythBusters, you may feel similarly. There's an early YouTube quality to the show where you feel like you're hanging out with these people every single week. I think that's why people get so shocked when they hear Adam and Jamie aren't friends. But as a viewer, it's an incredible relationship to have with characters in a TV show who are people. I really recommend you watch Adam's visit to Grant's shop, in which he and Grant's partner look over Grant's BattleBot Deadblow. That's a deadly machine and I wouldn't get anywhere near it. Often, the B team are given a way more chaotic story while Jamie and Adam handle the headliner of the episode. In the episode where Jamie and Adam test different myths about alcohol and ways to sober up, the B team is building an ancient Korean weapon that uses rockets to simultaneously fire 200 arrows that explode on impact. While Jamie and Adam try to search for the elusive brown note, which makes you poop. Myth busted, by the way. The B team is testing Chinese water torture.
I actually don't want to do this test right now.
Bro, get Carrie out of there. Myth confirmed. She's wearing her mood ring during all of that, and I can't imagine it was saying anything good. One of the best episodes, holistically, is when Jamie and Adam try to build a lead balloon while the B team try to go surfing with dynamite. The B team does depth tests using a plastic bottle bomb and then do a great remote segment where they go surfing. I love science. Meanwhile, Jamie and Adam take on this gargantuan arts and crafts project. The first problem of which was sourcing lead thin enough to make a balloon, which apparently took the show years.
We had that idea, and it was probably 18 months or more before we were able to execute that idea. Both of these companies, like months apart, broke their rollers. Something went wrong, and like we thought Monday we're gonna have some lead, and Monday morning the company calls up and like, yeah, you're not getting any lead.
And when they get the material, it's incredibly delicate, and through trial and error, Adam develops a folding origami kind of cube that will allow them to first construct the balloon flat with hundreds of triangle panels, and then allow the helium inflation to create the balloon structure. It sounds like kind of a boring project, but because of the delicateness of the material, it's insane. They construct the final product in an airplane hangar, developing all sorts of methods to work with the material. Jamie has to lift Adam across the surface of the material with a forklift with a giant arm attached. Implausible for sure, but when the homie's forklift certified, he can do anything. It's one of their most precarious builds, with all of these things you don't typically think of threatening the integrity of the material. Dust on the floor could tear a hole open in this whole thing. If there's one tiny little hole, it won't inflate. It's so delicate, they have to be concerned about static electricity on tape. So before they apply it, they rub it on their beards to de-static it, to discharge it. They got discharge all over their ingenuity. Adam crunches the numbers, and it turns out helium would lift the material too quickly. According to the math, a lead balloon is so possible, they have to add air to the helium so the lead doesn't tear when it's inflating. Finally, after addressing all of the concerns and actually building the thing, 600 square feet of lead does the impossible and rises until it floats. It's kind of an otherworldly sight, an impossibility shown right on screen. You can't build a lead balloon. Actually, myth busted. Meanwhile, the B team throws 200 pounds of TNT into a man-made quarry. Grant's robot paddles as fast as a surfer, but the kind of wave created by TNT just isn't the same as a surfing wave. Myth busted, but it looked so cool.
The name of this game is differential pressure.
I love it.
Is this the first Terminator you've ever cooked?
Science isn't always pretty.
Welcome back to Busting in My Kitchen. Hey, I've got a myth for you. Your mom hates you. Just a little bit of vinegar, some baking soda. I just can't deny the facts. This myth is busted. Your mom loves you.
As a group of people with special effects experience, often the most exciting part of the episode comes after they bust a ridiculous myth. As a consolation, they try to duplicate the results of the story with wild practical effects.
There's always two parts to a MythBusters story. There's replicating the myth, and then there's duplicating the result.
I just love watching them tinker. You know things are gonna go crazy when they have to hook up radio controls to a real car. You know that car is not gonna come out of this thing okay. And you know, I don't think I've seen as many dead animals being blown up as I've seen on MythBusters. There is a real gross out fascination to many of the stories they recreate, even when they mix and mold ballistics gel, a material used to test the lethality of ammunitions and weapons, but it's temperamental to the environment, which is why they use ethically sourced pigs so often. In the shopping episode, they show you where they buy all the dead pigs, and they're ethically sourced. No pigs have been killed for MythBusters. No food has been wasted. The duct tape specials are some of the most iconic of the series. No matter what the challenge, island survival, constructing a boat, a bridge, they typically succeed in showing the fact that duct tape is the universal tool. Something I think MythBusters has over other workshop kind of shows like Fact or Faked or Deadliest Warriors is that the hosts are true showmen. Even Jamie, with all the jokes about his seriousness, loves to build giant contraptions that serve the purpose of like performing a gag, of doing a visual gag. There's something so special when Jamie gets excited about a build. It's awesome. And there's a real style to the presentation. The blueprints introducing each build are often drawn by the cast themselves. They feel very involved in the production. You know, the crafting of each episode. I love in the Alcatraz escape episode when Jamie and Adam are interrupted by a Discovery Channel crew to take promotional photos.
They get near me with, you know, some powder and some scissors for my mustache. They're going down.
Well, maybe just a little touch up for the tough guy.
Unlike other reality shows, the celebrity aspect of these people get in the way from the real drama, which is the crafting, the making, the building, the tinkering. As you watch the show, the shop gets more full with props from earlier experiments. M5, the shop, becomes a character in itself with a great continuity. They make a casted mold of Grant's head when they test the myth if you could like put a finger in the barrel of a gun to save your life. You can't, by the way, myth busted.
Does anybody find it creepy how many Grant robots have been on the show? Is it just me, or is he trying to like clone himself and make a little army?
I like it. I think we're keeping it.
But afterwards, Grant's head makes regular appearances because they still have the mold. It's practical to use it, but it's still a face of Grant.
Grant's face, test number 1 and only. Firing in.
3, 2, 1.
It's so fucking funny.
This is your time to shine.
Occasionally, the myth seems so mundane and lame. It's like, why are you even wasting your time on it? Like, does a duck echo? Why wouldn't it?
Jamie and Adam will look really stupid.
They're giving, why did the network make us do this?
Myth busted.
Don't be so hasty. MythBusters, let's go home. See ya.
Then there are myths that may have well existed in the Middle Ages, like can a cell phone call ignite an explosion at a gas station? People asking that question didn't know how to make fire. That's why they're asking the question. They want to know if it's a viable way to make fire. They're Neanderthals, cavemen. An early dumb f***ing episode was Pyramid Power, which claims that the Egyptians used the pyramid to preserve mummies, not through mummifications, but through the mystical scientific properties of the pyramid's shape.
As far as I know, in ancient Egyptian thinking, there's no evidence that they thought about that at all.
They take time to follow the exact directions to capture this pyramid power, which should keep fruit fresh and sharpen razors. But after some long trials, it doesn't seem to do anything. So they even try testing cube power, and that doesn't work either. It's silly, but one of the show's greatest strengths is taking the time to give these ridiculous things a chance. Their mode of storytelling is the scientific method, so you can't just like brush something off. You can't just research on the internet and talk about it. You have to show it. I was surprised I loved the mind control episode so much because they give a reason for why people believe mind control devices exist. The show points to the fact that there are publicly filed patents in the United States for or mind control devices. How can this be? Only geniuses have patents. So using a multitude of guides on the internet and plans sourced from the US Patent Office, they actually build them. They measure people's brainwaves while testing these wacky devices that make variations in air pressure, create subliminal sounds, spin magnets. I do love the psionic helmet. I would not go anywhere near someone wearing this though.
She runs through every beverage on the menu, except the one that Tori is trying to project.
Something I really appreciate about Adam Savage versus many other science educators is he's always had a respect for people who need a concept re-explained to them, or who may even be stubbornly holding on to their own beliefs. People aren't stupid, the world is confusing. One myth that may seem simple to some, but not to many others, is an airplane cannot take off on a conveyor belt that matches its takeoff speed. That sounds correct in my brain, but after Adam and Jamie break a treadmill, a small-scale test shows a successful takeoff. It's such a strange sight to see that even later, the pilot they hire to do the large-scale tests believe his plane won't take off. They tow a tarp behind a truck matching the plane's takeoff speed, but despite the conveyor belt, the plane moves forward and takes off. It seems like they did the experiment wrong. That did not happen. I don't care what I just saw. But that's an assumption. It's an assumption based on a misunderstanding of the physics of planes.
Bringing it to Jamie and him going, why would we test that? It's totally stupid. And I'm like, it may be painfully obvious to you, Heinemann, but check out this stack of arguments we found. I mean,
the plane is not creating friction on the ground to move. The wheels they're just stands. The propeller creates friction in the air. It's like saying you couldn't swim over an underwater conveyor belt.
It took about 3 weeks of production before we understood people's confusion with the story enough to actually explicate and speak to that confusion in the episode.
It's something so easy to misunderstand, and if I didn't see it on the show, I would have never believed you could do that. I'm an educated person now. I love the episode where they measure bacteria content after double dipping. That is, taking a bite of your food and putting it back in a shared dip. My grandma hates double dipping, and as a child, I could have respected what she wanted. I could have taken dip and put it on my own plate if I really wanted to double dip. But the Mythbusters said myth busted. Double dipping isn't all that bad. So I let her know whose opinion I respected more.
The Mythbusters.
Sometimes their conclusions do raise an eyebrow, like watching them fail to curve bullets. I have the confidence to say I could actually do that. James Cameron is still a salty little sailor. A salty little sub about the episode where Jamie and Adam supposedly proved that Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet in Titanic could have survived on the wooden board floating in the water together, rather than Jack dying. Rewatching Jamie and Adam's experiment, they do have some chicanery in there. They add a lot to equalize the buoyancy of the wood for their weight, and rely on their own ingenuity in the water to use a life vest to prop up the board to keep them both out of the water. It's just fishy is all I'm saying. So obviously these guys aren't exactly scientists by trade, and over the years the fans have criticized their experimental methods. Discovery ran a Mythbusters fan site, and often the Mythbusters would take viewer requested myths. But in true scientific fashion, they also revisited many of their experiments while taking criticism into account. They were even contacted by President Obama one time to retest a myth. Why would Obama contact the Mythbusters to try to rebuild the Archimedes death ray? Obama, shouldn't this have been top secret? Anyways, myth busted. The show demystifies science through the creative process, which is incredible.
And as you watch Jamie and I fill in the pockets of our ignorance, you learn too, and you get to see that sort of science in action.
I think if we actually knew what we were doing around here, it wouldn't be near as interesting to people to watch.
Yes, while they didn't begin as scientists, over time, the show gave the cast a real appreciation for the scientific process and their roles as scientists and science educators. This is real experimentation, and over time, they did net some useful data and results. Mythbusters actually saved lives directly by showing that a car door, when submerged in water, is easier to open if you allow the car to fill up with water first. It's a thought that can feel very counterintuitive in the moment, but it equalizes the pressure.
The MythBusters thing came to mind, and it was like, okay, I have to wait. Even though I didn't want to, I had to wait. I waited until that moment, pushed the door open, and it opened like nothing.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that. That's intense.
Was the lunar landing complete lunacy?
That's 100% wacky right there.
I did a search for MythBusters on r/conspiracy just to see what the most intelligent of us had to say about the show. And of course, people call them government plants for their take that the moon landing footage was real. With some simple testing, they show that many popular criticisms regarding the moon landing footage can easily be disproved with demonstration, including the way the sun reflects on the ground to create multiple angles of light. That's just misunderstanding basic cinematography, y'all. And you want to critique footage? In hindsight, I really valued this episode as a kid because I think it taught me that even if an argument sounds good on the surface, many arguments fall apart with just a little bit more examination. This episode reminds me so much of the Flat Earth documentary that ends with the Flat Earther proving himself wrong with his own experiment. It's like he just went outside. So much of the craziest conspiracies is just a reliance on what ifs that are way easier to test in reality than people lead on. They just haven't taken the time to test their own theories. MythBusters is really wonderful as a science education show, but its timeless quality is a representation of the maker's spirit. That is, creating for the sake of creating.
Sometime making a little whirligig here out of one of the two coat hangers I found.
One of my favorite books for creative inspiration is Adam Savage's Every Tool's a Hammer. And to me, that's such a perfect title. In a pinch, you can make any tool a hammer. And when you work on projects, when you have deadlines, sometimes it feels like you gotta have that kind of ingenuity. To me, it's not only an entertaining celebrity autobiography, but it's much more of a very practical guide to managing creative projects. Bro has a whole chapter about making lists, and it's a page turner.
It doesn't matter what you make, and it doesn't matter why. The importance is that you are making something.
From the beginning on MythBusters, science education was always the backdrop to make a show about making things. I love the earlier episode Shop Till You Drop, which just follows Jamie and Adam around as they highlight all the different places they've shopped for constructing different experiments. Sourcing things for the show was a huge challenge on its own, and they end up in weird places.
It's our little pug. This was Men in Black 2.
That is the pug from Men in Black 2, and he is taxidermied. I loved that movie as a kid. I loved that character as a kid. This episode came out shortly after Men in Black 2. Where can I get that guy? In another early episode, they buy a classic car for a myth about bodies rotting inside a car. The owner is sad to part with his beloved vehicle, but excited to be selling it to the MythBusters until Jamie tells him what they're doing with it.
This is an absolutely horrible thing to do to a beautiful car.
The man is so defeated. Why did you have to tell him?
Well, not real happy, tell you the truth. I mean,
you should have told Tim you're testing the myth that a car can last forever.
When something strange or misunderstood, who you gonna call?
Hey, you're watching Busting in My Kitchen. Today we've set up an experiment to try to find out if your friends have a secret group chat they use to talk behind your back. We're looking for a reaction here. I live in an apartment. That's so lame. Is that all we get? Looks like they got that group chat. I think I need a 2-liter. Whoa! 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 Whoa!
The emotional climax of the episode is never dependent on the outcome of the myth. It's like any special effect, the execution of the scene. In an early holiday episode, Jamie and Adam take a break from myth busting to construct a Rube Goldberg machine, a visual spectacle created through a series of gags which works by moving parts activating each other in succession like a row of dominoes. These two have done this kind of thing before on commercial work, but on a shortened television schedule, they design a challenging scene with mechanical toys, a rolling turkey, a fountain of Diet Coke and Mentos, and it's just spectacular to watch. Jamie and Adam, with no myth to prove, build this incredible thing that only exists for fun. Meanwhile, the B team's up to some diabolical stuff.
This drop is a real eye-opener.
The showmanship carries into the experimentation. It's not only for data, it's for the camera, and the creativity of all 5 members contributes to a balanced show. In its 2 final seasons, the network made one of the worst penny-pinching decisions in cable TV history. They chose to fire the B team because they were up for a raise, and Discovery did not want to shell out the money. The build team added a whole other dimension to the show. The 3 members have their own very youthful, friendly rapport, which really complimented Jamie and Adam.
Can I style you? Hold on.
No, I usually don't let people do that.
I love just watching them play in the pool.
Very scary ninja.
That's so beautiful. That's content, baby. And by all counts, they were friends outside the show. The final 2 seasons with Jamie and Adam are by no means bad. I love when they test the Simpsons myth, like Adam builds Homer, they crush him with the wrecking ball. There's a level of refinement to the production that I can appreciate, but that could also be it feeling more corporate. As soon as they leave, the energy Carrie, Tori, and Grant brought to the show is immediately missed. It just makes more sense when the B team is there. Damn it. Buster is not giving them much to work with, but they'll make them f***ing work. Damn, this f***ing shot of the B team in the MacGyver Myth special goes f***ing hard. Look at it. I think the episode which exemplifies everything I love about Mythbusters, my favorite Mythbusters episode, is the Seesaw Saga. The episode begins with one of the most absurd stories they've ever tackled. A skydiver's parachute fails, and he hits a seesaw, a teeter-totter, with a little girl on the other side. According to the story, she's launched 7 stories, landing on the roof of a building where she's completely unharmed. The boys get at it immediately, with Adam welding a standard steel seesaw designed for our 50-pound child dummy to launch from. They drop a steel can filled with water to approximate a hit from a skydiver, and this experiment would be all too easy if the seesaw didn't break, leaving the girl with a pathetic 20-foot launch. So it's back to the drawing board where they admit this is a very complicated experiment to pull off. How are they going to target a seesaw at terminal velocity? How are they going to aim a dummy and make sure the little girl like flies and hits the right place? 7 stories up. So, in one of the few times during the entire show's run, all 5 of the Mythbusters team up to work on one myth together. Using a 3D program, Jamie engineers a new kind of super seesaw design, creatively taking from crane construction to reinforce it for impact. Meanwhile, Adam's small-scale model shows that when the skydiver successfully transfers his energy to the little girl, there's a compound increase in energy and the girl goes flying even higher than the story says. But that's just at a small scale. With Jamie and Adam welding the new seesaw, the B team are left to solve the terminal velocity problem. Carrie is building a guy filled with goo to approximate the 150-pound person. And Tori and Grant are doing a great remote segment in which they test the differences between skydiving and bungee jumping, learning that they can approximate terminal velocity below 600 feet if they use a bungee cable in reverse to launch the skydiver onto the target on the ground. This is a real show. They did this for real. This isn't Phineas and Ferb. And Jamie and Adam cameoed in Phineas and Ferb as stormtroopers. The plan is set. The pieces are in place. Inside a naval shipyard, the team uses a 30-foot drop, this huge crevasse, this chasm, to increase the height of a wooden tower they constructed. Guided by cables, our skydiver will bungee fast enough to equal the impact of a 600-foot drop. And to secure the seesaw, it's fastened to 2 multi-ton plates on the ground. This kind of effort could fix a small city's infrastructure. The little girl is the perfect side character for some morbid slapstick. She's strapped with impact gauges to know if a real girl would be able to survive the incident unscathed.
You're gonna be fine. Your dad Buster's done it millions of times.
That's Buster's daughter. The day before, they do some drop tests and their weight tears apart. Then later, they miss their target and the bungee breaks from the impact. They only have enough rope for a second bungee, meaning it's high stakes the next day. During the day of the experiment, they drop the dummy, Carrie's dummy, and it busts apart. They do not make full impact, so they rig it up again. They drop a weight, and this time it hits the other side. The little girl shoots straight up and quickly makes contact with the guiding wire. She spins out of control. It's a ridiculous sight, but an unsuccessful test nonetheless. Setting up these experiments take time, and by the third trial, the day is almost over.
In the best MythBusters tradition, the fast-setting winter sun means this next attempt is absolutely our last one. It's now or never.
And it goes perfectly. Buster's dear little daughter flies not 7, but 13 stories in a spectacle that has all the excitement of an athlete hitting a home run with the amazing slapstick absurdist comedy of a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. It's a climax that's earned through all the different elements that make the show great, and it's breathtaking. The story is ultimately busted because the force of the seesaw actually kills the girl before she lands, so it doesn't even matter if she was able to land on the tower perfectly. But it doesn't matter, the stunt, the effect, it worked. They got the scene, and it's beautiful because they all built it together. Anyways, help me bust the myth that you won't subscribe. What were your favorite MythBusters episodes? You can comment down below. Myth confirmed. Anyways, what other plausible things would you like to see me talk about? See ya.
Welcome back to Crack Smokers. In true scientific fashion, we're doing a retest today because it turns out we didn't do our experiments right. Oh my God, so we got a 2-liter here. It's definitely going on the ceiling. So I was about ready to throw Nico off the 3rd floor over our tube designs on how to drop the Mentos into the Diet Coke. But he came up with this paper design, and man, building it has brought me so much satisfaction. We have the 2-liter now, and I've never done this before. That's why I did it so wrong yesterday. It turns out it's kinda all or nothing. So let me make sure this is lined up. 2 seconds from now. All right. Wow. Bullshit, dude. Bull. I think we got a pretty good reaction on that first Diet Coke bottle. So I'm gonna have to say myth busted. Your friends don't have that group chat.